Record. So welcome to our Universal Design for Learning. I believe this technically should be our fourth session together. So we had two at Kalahari, one in September, and now one in November. In the chat, if you have not already done so, you will find the link to sign in. We are taking attendance so that we can get you contact hours at the end of this. Lauren and Katie we haven't discussed that if they're providing it or if we are. So either way, I want to make sure that by the end of our time together this school year, that we could get you guys your contact hours for participating in this with us or both. Wouldn't that be nice? I think I could get in trouble if both of us were doing that. I don't need to get my patty slapped by, yeah, I don't need to get my patty slapped by DEW. So we are today talking about Universal Design for Learning again. It would be helpful to me if you could add your position to your name. So just, you are in Lucas County. I see in the chat, you are in Lucas County, and for school, you choose community school. But then if you could rename yourself to add your position, that might help me. When we go along a little further, I might be able to come up with ideas or ask questions specifically because of what you teach. So if you could add that detail to your name using that participant button at the bottom, that would be helpful to me. Right, I just wanted to check to make sure that we were recording because I had a little snafu last time, but it looks like we're good to go. So last time we did talk about the Frayer method, and I wanted to give you an example of a career tech teacher who had modified it just a little, but she is using the Frayer method in her visual art and design for tech lab. So this is an example of the Frayer. She's got her term in the center, multimedia. She wanted pictures that would represent what multimedia means. So you've got the pictures. She's got the definition of multimedia, which is using more than one medium of expression or communication. But then she also used a quote of someone using the term multimedia. So that would be something else. Like, where are you finding this word being used in the real world, right? That could be another way that you could, or where are you finding this term being used in industry? Or how would this term be used in industry? So that would be the way that you could design your Frayer method if you were looking to utilize this. So I just wanted to give you that example because we had talked about these last time. We kind of created one together using CTSOs. But this is just an example of how a career tech teacher is using the Frayer method for her industry vocabulary for her career tech program. And while I do realize, you can see she's got it pasted onto a real wall there. You obviously could have these on a Google Doc or a Google slideshow, and you could use it that way. I know some of you are, I know all of you are much more tech savvy than I am. And so you probably have Google Classrooms, and you might even be able to post things like that up on walls of your Google Classrooms. So just wanted to give you that example. So we have covered quite a few different vocabulary strategies since we've started meeting together. We looked at the think and sort method, the close procedure method, the Frayer model. We looked at root words, prefixes, and suffixes. I showed you rewordify.com. Just curious if any of you have tried those out. Which ones did you try out and how did it go with your students? So if anyone would like to unmute and share, now would be a great time.
Good morning. I know I used make sure you pay attention to the prefixes, like when we're talking about bio, geo, to kind of get kids to think about eliminating possibilities and like a multiple choice test. So if it says geo, it's going to deal with minerals or the physical. If it says bio, it's going to be life. So looking at some of those like cycles in agriculture and environmental science. The other thing I've done too that I liked is what is the list two things that structure or organelle looks like, and then list two or three things that functions like it in your everyday life, so they can kind of compare and try to go, aha. So
Very good. So good use of the root words, prefixes, and suffixes, right? Using that to help us understand terms. Anyone else tried any of these out?
Just created an assignment similar to what you just demonstrated with the words and such and pictures, but the kids are doing the research. So they are all going to take one or two of the different terms, research it, and they have to not only give the definition, but they have to provide either a picture or a video that helps describe it better. And then we're going to use I'm going to try using our tables. We have tables in our virtual classrooms where the kids can then move between tables in order to learn what the other kids, um, you know, presented or researched, I should say.
So Suzanne, what I really liked about what you just said, I mean, it's kind of an example of Frere, but one of the key things that you just said was they can either find a picture or a video. You gave them choice, right? So choice is a key component of universal design for learning, right? At any time you can give students choice, firm goal, flexible means. I want you to be able to find an example that illustrates this further is the firm goal. The flexible means is with a picture or with a video. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lisa,
Yeah.
I want to tell you that you gave me a great idea for something because I love writing. So I redo all my think and writes. So I did this assignment for my students to pretend they have a job in the animation field and they have to like describe their job using the terms, like 3 terms. And it was great. Thank you. I'm actually going to do it second semester too. So that might be something everybody would like to do. It's just, specific to their content. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just want to recap that. So you had them write a job description using their terms.
They had to say, hello, my name's Laura, and I'm an animator. I'm a rigger. They had to use like specific terms for the job that they might want to have. So yes, it was great.
Yeah, that's perfect, right? So I could even see that. It's like you're helping me think through this too, as a Frere method option, right? When you're looking at filling in those sections, what a great idea. How could you use these words when you're interviewing? Describe yourself using, these words, or even in a think and sort, when you do all the think and sort of all the terms you've learned this year, now pull from that think and sort, which ones are your strong ones that you would use and write your little bio, your little elevator pitch about yourself. Fantastic. Love it. One more, time for one more.
I actually, I've been teaching an engineering course and I'm giving the students a project right now of just going through the engineering design process. So they have to identify something that they would like to create a solution for and work through the process on that. It has worked really, really well. A lot of the students have gotten really involved. I have had just a little bit of issue and this morning I've gotten a few emails from students who are struggling with not being given precise, here's the topic I want you to research. And so I just have found that interesting that they some of them actually just need that direct guidance.
Right. Oh, so that's a very good observation, Mark, right? That's a barrier. Some students want to be able to do it on their own, come up with their own topic. They don't want you to narrow it for them, but others might, right? So that's a great idea moving forward. Like you can choose from this list or you can choose your own. If there's something else that you're interested in, or you offer it up free for all, but with the option, hey, if you're struggling and you'd like some ideas, let me know. And we'll find one that I think would be a good fit for you.
Yeah, even the giving them the list, it didn't work. It was just tell me what you want me to do.
Kids, right? That's okay. The firm goal is to get the assignment completed. You tried to be flexible with whatever, but some kids just want you, and that's okay. That's okay.
Hey, Lisa, I think Dwight's been trying to share repeatedly and he keeps getting beat out. So if he could share his, that'd be wonderful.
Absolutely, Dwight, please share.
Oh, no big deal. We've just been using the root word thing or a variation of it when we've been teaching HTML and CSS. Because actually, all those little meaningless things of code came from a word somewhere because it is a markup language. So when we say, okay, if you want to make a link, here's an A. A stands for anchor. That's where they came up with it. And I don't know yet if it's helping. They seem to like it. I don't have data to back it up yet, but we'll see.
Wow, that is fantastic, Dwight. You know what? I didn't know that, but what a great connection, right? You're kind of simplifying it for a way by tying it to A stands for anchor, which will trigger then what it's supposed to do. Fabulous. All right. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I really appreciate that you're trying some of these out. You know, that we're just trying to build more tools in our toolbox, just finding ways to reach all of our students. Using root words, prefixes, and suffixes a lot in game design as well from Aaron. Yes. So fascinating thing about that, I just picked up yesterday. I don't know if you can see this because of the way that you probably can't. Equity for Literacy, a case study of Southwestern Career Academy's experience with equity for each grant. So this was from a career tech school in Ohio, I think somewhere in Southern Ohio, and they took for the entire year one Greek root word a week that the entire school would talk about each week, one root word, each week a new one. It increased their web exam scores tremendously. So there's data in here. I haven't read through this report yet. I was given it yesterday. So maybe I will make sure at our next one I share a little bit out about that for you, just so that you are able to see, really, you're going to see a difference, I think. And honestly, that's one that surprised me. I didn't see how big of an impact it could make, but I think it has more power than we realize. So great job to those of you who are trying that out. I like to share with you each time that we meet together, maybe one more little thing. So in that UDL guidelines, one of the considerations under multiple means of engagement, this was a new one added this summer. Remember, I told you this summer they had just revised the guidelines in July, right before I met with you folks at Kalahari, and nurture joy and play was added to the guidelines. So I used ChatGPT to simplify the definition of what that means. But basically, it's creating joyful, playful learning environments is important for all ages as it inspires curiosity and connection. For marginalized learners, finding joy can also be a way to resist oppression, like in the ideas of Black Joy, which values freedom, imagination, and community. However, not everyone experiences joy and play in the same way. A flexible approach to learning helps each learner find their own sense of joy. On some ways that you could do this, and again, this is just coming straight from the guidelines, so not all of these might apply to your virtual setting, right? But you could nurture playfulness in forms of outdoor play, sensory play, imaginative play, and play through the arts. So you probably can't get them outdoors, but maybe you guys have found creative ways to have them take their devices outside. Sensory play, maybe, I don't know. Definitely imaginative play you could bring in, and that play through the arts, showing them media clips, playing music for them that might be just a fun connection to whatever topic you're covering. Incorporate opportunities for exploration, experimentation, and discovery. Create spaces for learners to find joy through connection to their identities and sense of self and community. And create spaces for learners to take pride in their accomplishments. And incorporate storytelling, right? So I think there's potential for that storytelling in everything that we teach, right? Maybe it's a bad story of how you really screwed something up when you were working on a certain thing and what you learned from that, but that's still a story, right? So I found an example. I was like, well, I want to show them something. So this is an example just about UDL. And I personally thought it was fun. You might not, right? But this is an example that I wanted to share with you because I think it's a little fun. And hopefully you can
get 40% off everything right now at Old Navy.
Have you
hear the
heard?
video.
Deals are popping. Spread the word. Prices dropping. Need that styles.
Skip that.
You put the U in UDL, and I really think that's swell because it's for you and for me.
And learning's that much better when we plan for all together because it's for you and for me.
Things are universally designed when we got all in mind and plan for what we each need.
So with creativity and a little help from me, our lessons are the best they can be. Oh, hi there. Today we're talking about UDL. What's UDL, you say? Universal Design for Learning. You see, each and every one of us is different, and that's what makes us all so special. UDL helps teachers create lessons that are flexible and have lots of different ways to learn and do the same things. Let's say you're doing math and planning the right path to help your students succeed.
Digital addition, and you really are a wishing to address each kiddo's needs.
So you create several stations and move the class through rotations from worksheets to counting beats.
And pretty soon, before you know it, each student's gonna show it that UDL helped them to achieve. You see, with a little ingenuity, you can plan a lesson that gives everyone an opportunity to learn in a way that's best for them. Because we all have different learning styles. Some of us might like to hear information or see it. And some of us need to touch and do things to make it stick. Some of us learn best through music, through talking with others, or by using the skills from a lesson to solve a problem. But UDL doesn't stop at helping us to learn new information. It's also helpful in letting folks show what they know.
Your lesson's at an end, and now you must contend with what grade each student has earned.
But don't just reach for a test and be like the rest, where students' grading's concerned.
Why not give the kids a voice? Let each student make the choice of the best way to show what they've learned.
So from reports to skits, let each kid make the pick, and what was learned will be discerned.
And I really think that's swell because it's for you and for me. And learning's that much better when we plan for all together because it's for you and for me.
Yeah!
So I thought that was fun. And hopefully you enjoyed it somewhat. Some of you may have loved it. Some of you may have been very annoyed by it. But I just wanted to show you that's an example of a way that you can go out there and find music or videos that might be connected to your topic. You can create music. I don't know if Lauren shared with all of you her song. She did not. So you can use AI. There are AI tools out there that can create lyrics for you. You can kind of put in like what all you would like in the song and ask the AI tool to generate lyrics for you. Then you can drop those lyrics into another AI tool that will set it to music based on the genre of music you would like it to be. So those are things that are out there for you. I cannot do music. I couldn't create music, but I could use that AI tool to set my lyrics or a AI generated lyrics to music. And how fun would that be for kids to be able to take your content and create songs with it as well? Oh, Lauren put it in the chat for us. So if we have time at the end, I will definitely play that. If not, it's in the chat. Make sure you snag that link and that you play that song because it's great. So any questions or comments about nurturing joy and play?
Not quite as fun as what you just presented, but interestingly, during our Tuesday meetings, once a month, we have the kids just do something fun. And this last month, Liz Green and I did Hangman with terms, whatever the case might be. But anyhow, I have one student who in the session was all about getting on mic and talking and, drawing on the board, the hangman. In Class Connect, I can't get the kid to utter a sound. I can't get him to chat, to get on mic, to nothing. So clearly the fun element is huge.
Yeah. And what a great idea to play hangman with the terms, right? Yeah. Especially if you want to help them with the spelling, right? Some of our words, especially our multi-syllabic industry words, we need to practice the spelling of those words. So hangman is a great tool to do that. Super fun. Anyone else?
I started using the whiteboard more in my classes because I really like the post a note feature where kids can brainstorm and post those notes. But every time you open it up, the kids are going to want to goof off and draw things. So we always decide at the beginning, okay, draw your favorite animal. And then everybody will draw, and some kids will like add to other kids' animals, and it's all in good fun. Like nobody does anything mean. And once they get that out of their systems, then we focus on the brainstorming with posting notes, and they seem to focus better when I do that. So if you get the sillies out first, then they'll focus on what they need to do.
Yeah, I love that. You recognize the barrier. And your workaround was, I'm going to let you guys do this first. Let's get this out of the way. Everybody have some fun. All right. That looks great. Let's now move on. That's perfect.
I got a lot more participation doing it that way than just, put your answers in chat or doing a word cloud with a poll. So I think I'm going to stick to the whiteboard from now on. They seem to follow the expectations with using it. So we'll see if that keeps happening.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? All right. We're going to move on then kind of to the meat of our session today. So we're looking at something called the Critical Friends Protocol. It says 10 minutes. Not every time will you take the 10 minutes. What I'm going to show you today may only take 2 minutes for me to hopefully explain. And then 5 minutes for you to ask questions. But again, it may not take us 5 minutes. And then 10 minutes for you to give me some suggestions on how I can make what I'm going to show you better. What I could do to UDLize it to, if you find a barrier in what you're looking at, what would make it better for you? How could I remove a barrier? What support could I put in place that would make it easier for you? Okay, so this is a protocol that I like to use when we're helping each other to UDLize our lessons. This is a typical time frame, but you don't have to stick to this time frame. The time frame is there to help you so that everybody gets a chance to share when we do eventually go to breakout rooms. But don't feel like if you finish, like today when I show you my sample lesson, if it only takes us 2 minutes for me to explain it, we're not going to sit there for another 8 minutes waiting for the 10-minute timer to be up, right? So we don't have to stick to these time frames if we finish early. All right, so we're going to look now. This is my example. This is not my lesson. This is actually from a friend of mine who teaches Rise Up at a career center. And we were talking one day, I asked him how his Rise Up was going, and he said that he had just went over this calculating profit, and some of his kids were still kind of struggling with it. So he was going to go in and teach it again. And so when I thought about bringing an example to you guys, I was like, I'm going to reach back out to that instructor and see if I can have his second lesson to see what he covered and then see like how we could make that better. So this is what he sent me. So when we're calculating profit, this is what the document would look like. You know, your revenue minus your cost of goods is COGS equals your gross profit, GP. Revenue minus COGS, cost of goods, minus operating expenses equals your net profit, NP. And so then you would have the students define revenue, define COGS, define operating expenses. Oops. And then he would go through. So if you have 9 items that you're purchasing, and the cost of those goods would be $10 a piece, you're going to make a revenue. You're going to sell them for $18, right? So the revenue minus the COGS, so 18 minus 10 would give us our gross profit. So if I were working this through with a student, 18 minus 10 would be 8. And then my total gross profit would be that $8 times the 9. So 8 times 9 is 72. And 72 minus 20 would be 52. So my net profit would be 52. So that's how I would work this through each of these examples with a student. This is fine. Nothing inherently wrong with this lesson, but I could see some barriers for students. Does anybody have questions? So the first thing I just shared with you, what this activity looks like that I would use with students. As my critical friends, do any of you have questions about this sheet or things on this sheet? Okay, well then we're going to go into the suggestions. So let me change, oh, we have something in chat. No questions, makes sense. All right, makes sense. But I'm wondering now if some of you are seeing some possible barriers. So I am going to share a different screen. I'm going to share with you screen 3. So you should be seeing up on screen 3 that same worksheet, but then I'm going to type in any suggestions that you might have on ways that I could make this better. How could I UDLize this for students? How could I make this better for you if you were a student in my class, especially if you had been absent and had to take this home to do without me helping you through it?
Maybe provide an example, like for the first one, just show an example so the kids can see how to do it. And for me, I like structure. I'm OCD about that. So I'd rather see this in like a spreadsheet format with lines, just so it's a little organized.
I also think it's really difficult to do this kind of calculation. I think left to right. I think it's better what is it, vertically. A lot easier to understand because you see like the flow down where it gets bigger to smaller.
That's interesting because I'm perfectly fine with it being horizontal. But my thing is this, there's too many abbreviations for me. I'm not familiar with these terms. And so each time I look at one thing, I got to look up at the top, look back down, then I forget what number I had. If we just actually wrote out what they were, I think that'd be a lot easier.
So I just put there, define the terms in the column. So kind of what I was thinking when I heard you say like right under net profit or right beside net profit, I might like put in parentheses net profit and then put like how you get that, right? The formula. Would you like it there or would you like that all at the top?
That would be fine at the top. I wanted to actually just say net profit. That would help me a lot. So I can actually, like cogs. It took me 5 minutes to think we weren't actually talking about cogs. I want to see a picture of a cog now.
That is great. And then that just went through my Frere method, like, because cogs, right? When we're looking at it for retail, a cog is not the same thing as what it might be in mechanics, right? Very good. What else?
And I threw in chat that I'm a visual person, and so I would like to see just pictures of product, just some animated stuff that I could look at.
Yeah, like you got to make it more relevant, make it more real, not just 9 of some arbitrary thing, but 9 troll dolls, right?
Yeah, because I am not a spreadsheet person.
What else?
Think I'd like to see a little more instruction too on some of these things, like the definitions. I can assume that I'm supposed to put those in there, but there's not really much guiding me through what I'm supposed to be doing on the sheet.
So, Aaron, when I hear you say that, I wonder if, like, as I was talking it through and I said $10 for each item, right? So if I would put under here, this is the amount I'm going to pay for one item. Like, so add the words that I would say out loud to the kids, like add that in the section to explain each of these. So written like sentence descriptions.
Yeah, I think that would help, or even just kind of some instructions. I guess I'm going back to your idea of if I had to take this home for homework and miss the lesson, I'm kind of lost what exactly I would supposed to be doing.
So like with the math, if it's total grand profit, and I would say, to get the total grand profit, I got to do it. I see, this is where I have to go through the whole process again myself, right? So I'm making $8 off of each item. So to get the grand profit, I multiply 8 times 9 is the quantity. So I would write that out, like why I'm doing this. Yeah, okay. So even for the math portions, you use sentences to explain. Okay.
You could color code like the NP in your formula, color code it green, and then up top where it says NP equals net profit, color code that green also so their eye draws to it so they know what they are looking for.
Yep. And I liked that you said NP green. Why did you choose green for NP?
To me, it's just like the final ta-da. So green means go, you're good to go. I don't know.
Right, and good to go. And you probably made a profit, right? I mean, green would be you're in the green, right? So using that term, what color would I want to make operating expense?
Red.
Red, because I'm going to subtract that. That's a loss.
Yeah, and companies always say, are you in the black, which means you're positive? Are you in the red, which means you're
okay.
So that's a financial term that a lot of people use. So even that might even though I agree green means moolah for sure. I know like if you wanted to tie it into kind of the lingo that they use in the industry, if you're in the black, you're positive. If you're in the red, you're negative.
So
that could be one extra thing.
I'm going to put that here, maybe black, because if you are in the black, you are positive. Okay.
I think something Aaron was saying was to give instruction on what to do. So for instance, define the terms below and then revenue, cost of goods sold, operating expense. And then calculate the gross profit, total gross profit, and net profit using the figures below. So you actually give them some instruction on what it is that they're being asked to do.
And to piggy off of what Suzanne's saying, like have them like tell them like where they're supposed to be finding that, like define these using the course content or define these using Google, like being like the more and more as I write assignments for students, like the specifics so matter for these kids. They want to know every detail of how to do something.
And I think there's a couple missing. So define, they only have you defining 3, but I think they should have to define net profit as well. So there's revenue, that's great. There's COGS, okay, operating expense. But what about your gross profit and net profit is not listed there in the terms that you are supposed to define. I think that's significant that that should be included. And then I also liked what I think it was Ken. Yeah, I do, we do, you do. Exactly would help in this situation. And then showing some choice. I'm sorry, I do have some background noise today. I'm not in my normal office, but just when I get on the mic, oh, my phone blows up, the TV's loud, whatever. Some people I'm like Liz, I need to see it vertically because I'm an old school person that did math with pencil paper. And so you could show kids there's this way. Some people are spreadsheet people. You can show it in a spreadsheet. Some people like color. I'm a color person. Other people are like, that your spreadsheet makes my eyes bleed. You have too much color. So showing those choices and then letting in your example of I do, then when it's you do, they get to pick which way they like it the best. But I definitely think that they need to know what all of the terms mean first, and then they have to see it demonstrated before we try it as a group. And that might be where you're doing the writing still, but they're telling you what to plug in. Okay, let's do this together. That would be the we do part. You guys know, you're all teachers. And then turn them loose either in tables or on their own. I think that would be fun. Makes me want to go teach accounting again.
Something about the I do, we do, you do is I have gone to, whenever I have an assignment that requires work like this, I do create a screencast and I embed it in the assignment. And that would be helpful, as I think somebody was saying, maybe Dwight, when kids aren't in school for whatever reason, even, brick and mortar, that would be helpful for them to see the example.
Yeah, Suzanne, you do a great job about adding those videos into your content. I think that really helps the students. That's a fantastic idea.
Thanks. It reduces work though, too, not gonna lie. Once you get those done, it reduces work.
Yeah, I loved that. I was waiting for someone to give that example of like recording, especially doing the math and having a link so that a student could link on that to watch that worked through and not just seeing it here on the paper, but to watch the process of that math calculation. Perfect.
I think too, I would draw something. This helps my students. I don't know if this feels overwhelming to people, but when you look at something like this, it feels like you're like, I don't know, all these numbers are everywhere. Like it makes no sense. But sometimes I'll draw my students a funnel so that they can see how it starts big. You've got revenue, it's the biggest thing. Then cost of goods sold is like, your quantity times how much it costs you per item. Then you get the gross profit. So if you just draw a funnel to something visually that students can say, like, that's why I like to do it vertically. And obviously that's also what an income statement looks like in the business world, but it just helps students to be like, I can check myself. Is this making sense? Are my numbers getting smaller as I calculate across? Or you could draw, if you want to do it, horizontally, just some visual picture that they can use in their mind to say, like, I can check my work. Is this making sense? Otherwise, sometimes, and I would also switch revenue, if you did do it horizontally, switch the revenue column with the cost of goods sold, because it's going from big to small, just to kind of follow that over.
So maybe switch the revenue with which one?
Sorry, the cost of goods sold, because that's the biggest. So revenue times quantity and then revenue times cost of goods sold gives you your gross profit. Or sorry, after you subtract them out, then you know what I mean? Like, so it's just different how he did it. It's interesting. I wouldn't, which is good. Like even how you did it, how you took it per, like you figured out the difference first, then you multiplied that by the quantity to figure out the gross profit. I would do like total sales, then total cost of goods sold, and then gross profit. So it's interesting how we all do it so differently, which is, so it's just two different ways to show students to say, does this make more sense or is this easier for you to comprehend?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I might also add like a couple more for the more advanced kids. And then instead of leaving out the GP and the total GP, give them those and then have them calculate the COG or something like that so that you're leaving out different blanks so they understand the relationships between them.
That's cool.
I mean,
I like
just
that.
Impressive.
Yeah.
I'm liking that, Dwight.
Especially because if you're become an entrepreneur or a business owner, that is the algebra of this process, right? You're going to have blanks, right, to figure out what you would need to purchase to make the profit you want to make. Yes, that's perfect.
Something else I'm seeing on this would be, okay, so was late to spreadsheets, Excel, like really late. In fact, I hated it, like when I had to use it in college and high school because I didn't understand it and know it very well. But then when I had to do a major fundraiser, I learned to love Excel. So something I'm thinking of is, okay, kids, part 2, take this, put this into Excel and create a formula. And then now it does it for you. And, to show the kids like, okay, so you work through this, now create a formula, put it down and highlight it and pull it down. And now this is automatically calculating it for you. So now you understand where these numbers came from and why it's important to know it. But now let's show you how to make your own spreadsheet or simplify your work. And I think that might catch them.
And Ken, that to me, I love that because I'm sitting here thinking for some kids, they're going to be like, dang, this is a lot of work and a lot of math. Do I really want to do this? But we show them like, you have to understand the basics. Now let me show you how to work smarter, not harder, right? But before you can use that Excel, you have to know what you're doing. But then you don't have to do all this math. It'll do it for you. But we got to understand how to create those formulas first based on this concept. I love that.
Just as a caveat on that, a lot of us teach Complit where we teach our basic Excel. Don't assume that they understand algebra. A lot of them have not had it or don't get it at all. And so you kind of have to teach them basic algebra along with the Excel.
Yeah.
It's time for our Excel assignment this week if we're are all tracking the same. Yeah, I'm grading like, okay. You can tell which ones came to class and watched the video and which ones didn't. So timely that we're talking about Excel today.
All right. So earlier, the new tip that I showed you was joy and fun. How can I bring a little bit of joy and fun into this?
I really think a lot of the stuff that we already talked about, the colors and the pictures and all that kind of stuff, maybe allow the students to do that on their own, kind of change this boring worksheet into something a little bit more exciting. A song. I don't know about a song, but
So sorry, go for it.
I don't know if you could tie this maybe to like just have some fictional company. Like Ken, like you said, we're selling cookies. This is our company, so tie it to something physical that they can kind of associate that with.
I know it wouldn't work for us per se, but I was thinking like here's your ingredients, list of ingredients and cost. You have to determine a recipe. Now you have a week at lunch to sell these cookies. Now you have to keep track, records, and then create that report at the end. So now they got to make food, and you know how kids are with food. and then they had to come and submit that report. So I think that would be a way to make it fun and engaging for them.
You know what? I did that one year in my marketing class where the kids had to create a recipe. And I had one girl making these cookies over and over and over again, trying to perfect her recipe. She loved it. And so did her family because they got to benefit from the cookies.
When I was teaching whatever our communications business comm or something, I forget what I haven't taught it in years, you can tell. But that one gave a lot of choice, student choice, and they could either um, write write something like as a script or make a video, and they had some really fun ones too to try to get kids to understand that the way they say things is important. And one of them was to make a sandwich, make your favorite sandwich, and they could write it out. Or they could video it, and it was no fun to grade. Like, I don't miss the grading in there because it took forever, but it was fun. There was joy and there was fun. And right now, I'm just like building this plane as I'm flying it for my foundations. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so boring. I got to get some joy and some fun in there. So I need to work on that. But I loved that they could have that choice for every single assignment, gave them 3 options. One was written, one was typically video, sometimes it was just audio. Anyway, I liked that.
You guys are coming up with so many great ideas. That whole make a sandwich, why couldn't you take, like for each of these, if I'm going to make just a sloppy Joe sandwich, how much, right? Based on the ingredients, everything I need to buy, how much could I sell those for? Like, you could do this for a sub sandwich, a sloppy Joe sandwich, like really use that as your different things, which would be, next level, but how fun would that be for those kids to do that? The cookies, same thing. What a great idea, cookies. Someone put in chat, have a song about net profit. Yeah, allow the students to decide what their business is and what they're selling. So maybe you put them into small groups and they come up with the same kind of sheet. What's their business? What are 5 items they're going to sell at their business? And then they fill this out for those 5 items. Lots of fun ways for them to engage with the content. PB&J can't go wrong. And now everybody's getting hungry.
We had a professor do the PB&J thing with college kids. And so our task was to make directions, and he was the kid, and it went so wrong so fast because you'd say, just open the bag, and he'd be like, just rip it in half and bread would go everywhere. Or you put the knife in the jar and he just drop it in the jar. So, I mean, so it goes, I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'll be now. I'm sorry.
No, you guys have done a great job. You've came up with a lot of ways that we could make this better for the students. So many ways that we can make this better. Before we meet again, I'm going to take as many of these ideas as I can and revise this so that I can show you my finished product of what it looks like when we meet again in 2 months for our next UDL session. But thank you so much for all of the great suggestions. It definitely will make this a better assignment for the students because of the way that you've removed barriers. You saw where maybe some students might struggle a little, and we're trying to make it easier. So let me change what I'm sharing. I'm going to go back to my screen 1. So our next session is January 10th. And we are going to, again, I'll see, who's tried what have you been trying? I'll bring a new tool or a website. I'll bring my revised UDL lesson so you can see how I change that. But then I am going to put you into breakout rooms. We're going to be in 3 people per breakout room when we meet again on January 10th. And in that January 10th, you will follow that Critical Friends protocol so that each of you will get a chance to share a lesson that you have coming up, get some feedback just like we did from our people who are in our Critical Friends group on ways that we could UDLize it, right? Like where I'm seeing a barrier as a learner, where I might see barriers from other people. And then we'll return at the end to share out, like what are some cool things, cool ideas that came out of your breakout rooms that you're going to add to those lessons. Right? So the next time you come, either a lesson, an assignment, whatever you want to bring, something for us to help you UDLize when we meet again on January 10th. Any questions or comments before we close it out and even let you leave a little early so that you can get to lunch now that we've made everyone hungry for sandwiches and cookies?
I just have a comment, Lisa, and that is that oftentimes the conversation that's had within our department is that we are all doing our own things and that we have no opportunity for collaboration because we're all so unique. But I look at what just happened here in the last, 30 minutes, and you guys took something that really was fairly specific to one content area and all were able to collaborate and identify ways to improve that. So I think this just shows that with this specific activity, you all don't have to be your little islands. You can help support each other, especially when we're looking at one common goal, which is making something more accessible for our students. So I would keep this in mind as you guys are even looking at stuff with your TBTs or ways that you can support each other across your different courses and pathways. And go make a sandwich because I want a sandwich. I'm going to go make a sandwich, I think. So.
And I forgot to pack a lunch, so I think I'm going to go to Jimmy John's and get an unwich for my sandwich today. And with that, I thank you. You guys were great today. Wonderful. I'm not a math person, but I can't wait to revise this and make these changes and share with that instructor. So thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic Friday. I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you January 10th.